Here's the scenario. You decided to use Google Drive for your business because it'll be easy to share things with your clients or with your team, but you don't understand how to organize anything in there. I'll show you how to organize Google Drive for business success today on Tuesday Tech Training. Hello and welcome to Tuesday Tech Training. My name is Jennifer Stewart. I am the owner of Gateway Productivity and I'm a digital productivity trainer. Today I'll be teaching you how to organize Google Drive for your business. A lot of companies jump into Google Drive knowing it will be good for collaboration with their clients or their team, and it is, but it's good to know how to organize it in advance. In our training today, we'll talk about how to create folders, how to create subfolders, how to color code folders, and some general naming convention suggestions. If you need a little more help navigating Google Drive, watch our video Understanding Google Drive before you watch this one. Everything we'll be discussing today is in the My Drive area. If you have any questions about the Shared With Me area on this left-hand side, the Shared With Me here, then you'll want to watch our video about organizing your Shared With Me files. First, let's talk about some general suggestions about creating a folder structure. What you want to think about first are the larger categories of things that you work with. I will use my business as an example, but you should be able to translate this into what you do for your business. The reason we start with general folders like marketing, finance or accounting, clients or vendors, and legal is so that we have a general place to put those documents that just don't fit in a more specific folder. This gives you a place to put something that comes in where you're not really sure, but you know it has to do with legal. You can put it in there and not have to go for a specific folder, and you don't have all of those general documents jumbled up together in the main folder. As a side note, if you do want to have some personal things inside your Google Drive along with your business, I would have two different folders or silos, as I like to call them. One would be your personal and one would be your business, and you would create different folder structures under each one. As you can see in my Google Drive, I have a Grandma's Recipes folder, but that's the only personal folder I'm going to have, so I'll leave that as is. We'll ignore that for the rest of the training. So we'll use my general folder structure that I was referring to before as our guide today. I can see here that I do have an audio files folder, but I know that that for me is something that's marketing related. So I will start with a general folder that is marketing. The way I'll create this folder is by right-clicking in the white space and choosing New Folder, or I can go up to New and choose the very first option, which is Folder. Here I can give the folder a name. A lot of people get stuck on this point. Again, if you're starting with your primary folders or your general folders, this should be pretty simple. Don't spend a lot of time worrying about what the folder name is. If you're going to be sharing these folders with other people, have a discussion with them about what topics make the most sense for them and come to a general consensus. If it's just for you, name it the way that you would look for things. In my case, I would look for things under marketing. Once I've named my folder, I can click on Create. And you can see in the folder area, marketing now shows up as my folder. The easiest way to put my existing audio files folder into my marketing folder is to do a click and drag. So I will click on the audio files folder, hold down my mouse, and drag it over on top of the marketing folder. We want the marketing folder to be highlighted in blue, as you see right now, because this means this folder will be put inside the marketing folder. My audio files folder will be put inside my marketing folder. When I let go, that will happen. As you can see, the audio files folder disappeared. And if we go inside the marketing folder by double clicking on it, we can see the audio files folder in there. An easy way to navigate within Google Drive is to use what's called the breadcrumbs. These are the options here at the top that I'm highlighting. I am inside the marketing folder currently, and if I click on My Drive, I go back one. Now let's talk about moving documents into those folders. So now I look in here and I realize that I hadn't put this audio file inside the audio files folder yet. The easiest way to get that in, because if I click and drag and drop it in marketing, it's going to put it in the general marketing folder. It won't necessarily put it in the audio files folder. So I don't want to do that just yet. I'm going to let go. If you find that you're starting to move something somewhere and it's not quite where you wanted, you can always move back to where you were and just drop it. So instead, I'm going to choose to right-click on the document and use this Move To option because it will give me more options than just clicking and dragging and dropping. Once I choose Move To, it opens this little dialog box. And I'm going to choose marketing, but I don't want to click on just the marketing folder. I want the little arrow to the right of it because that will show any subfolders that are in the marketing folder. When I click on that, it goes inside the marketing folder. That's what we're looking at right here. Inside the marketing folder, you know that by looking at the top gray bar. So in this case, I do want to put this document in the audio files folder. And if I had a subfolder in there, I could go one more level here, but I don't necessarily need to do that. I can either choose to move here, or I could have on this box clicked on audio files and said move. It will work either way. So at this point, I will move, and you can see it disappears from here. We'll double click on marketing. It did not drop in here, which is good. That's not what I wanted it to do. Double click on audio files, and it's inside my audio files folder. And here again, you can see the breadcrumbs at the top. There's more of them because we're inside the subfolder audio files. Here's our marketing, and then here is our My Drive. So we're just backing up a few steps. This can often be a lot easier to navigate than using the back button. It can get really confusing knowing where you are when you just use the back button. I know some of you are now going, well, what if I need to create a subfolder from scratch? Let's talk about that next. When you're creating subfolders, you want to think about what folder do I want this inside of? In this case, I want to create a new blogs folder inside my marketing folder. So I'll double click to get inside my marketing folder. And in here, we can use that same trick that we used before. We can either right click to create a new folder, or we can click on the plus for new and choose folder. Because we're inside the marketing folder, we're creating a subfolder inside the marketing folder. That's the key here. You can't really create subfolders when you're outside of the folder. You need to go inside the folder that needs a subfolder, and that's where you're going to create it. In this case, I want to create my blogs folder, and we will create that. And you can see there it appears. And if I went inside of it, we'll watch our breadcrumbs. We can see I'm in the blogs folder, which is inside the marketing folder, which is inside my drive or my Google Drive. Now we'll talk about color coding folders. We'll go through a couple examples of why you might use color coding, and I'll talk about a couple other options. The first one is, let's say you have a bunch of clients and you meet with specific people on specific days, and you'd like to have all of the people you meet with on Mondays in green, on Tuesdays in yellow, and so forth. So let's go and look and see what that could look like. So if I go into my clients folder by double clicking, you can see I've created some example folders. And let's say I meet with Jared on Mondays. So we wanted that to be green. I would right click on the folder and use change color, and I can change the folder color to green. So you can see that makes it stand out. This can be very helpful if you're motivated by color. And let's say I meet with Susie on Tuesdays, and so I want that to be yellow. And we'll use this yellow. It's a little softer and looks different from the green. And lastly, let's say Grace Robbins is also on Mondays, so we'll make her folder green as well. You can start to see how you can easily pick out what you're looking for by using the color coding. If you're not someone who's motivated by color, this might not be a good option for you. So you want to think about how you could best use this. This could be maybe yours is a vendor's folder. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with when you meet with them, but it has to do with your agreement with a vendor. You have certain agreements with certain ones that are certain pricing. Maybe you have it color coded by the price that that client or vendor is paying. This can be just about anything you could dream of. Another example of how you might use color coding is if you use a lot of photos and you have lots of folders with lots of different topics, you might want to color code some of those folders. Let's look at the example here. So you can see in my photos folder, I have a lot of different folders, and this can get overwhelming for me. So I would like to color code some of these. I get to my seasonal ones a lot more often, so I'd like to color code those and make them something that makes sense for me. So for me, fall means orange. So I'm going to make that orange. And then my winter one, let's say blue makes sense for me with winter. And summer, we'll go with red. And then lastly, spring, let's say yellow makes sense for me with that. And you can see that makes those folders pop out faster so I can find what I'm looking for. And some people find that the colors more than the words mean something more to them. It's easier for them to find things, easier for them to organize. Unfortunately, there is not a feature to group your colors together, so don't expect to be able to do that, but this can help you find things faster within your folder structure. The last thing I want to talk to you about is naming conventions. This is just a fancy way of saying you're going to name your documents consistently. And you want to pick something that makes sense to you, resonates with you, and that you will be very consistent with and use on a regular basis. I highly recommend using the date in some way. If you want your documents to organize by date, I would suggest using the date first and always put the year first. You can see on these, we have the year, the month, and then the day. And you can either use dashes, or you can use periods, or you can use no punctuation at all. You can see here at the bottom the slash. Unfortunately, most computer programs will not accept that. So as I said before, use a dash or no punctuation. You can use periods in between, whatever makes the most sense for you. I use a combination where I will use something similar to the bottom one, where I have a file name. Sometimes it might have a client name. Sometimes it might have what it is listed. So let's say it's a blog. And then I'll always have the date, because that way, if I have multiple versions of the same document, the document name can be the same, but the date can change, or you can even add the time to the end of the date, whatever makes sense for your company. You can also use these naming conventions to help you with searching within your Google Drive. This is where something like one of the first two can help if you're looking for a company that's associated with a document, or if you would like to use categories within your naming convention. That's something to think about. Some people will even organize their Google Drive with the categories in the document names and use very few folders. That's a very viable option. You want to think about what works best for you and any team that you have around you. Let's do a quick recap of what we talked about today. First, we talked about creating folders in your Google Drive and making sure that you start with primary or general folders, and then you can create subfolders after that. This allows you a place to put things that don't really fit into those specific subfolder categories. We talked about creating those subfolders, how to move documents into those folders, and how to move folders inside of folders. We talked about how you can use color coding to help things stand out for you if you're someone who's motivated by color. And lastly, we talked about naming conventions, which can really help you with searching and with keeping multiple versions of documents. Have you had a light bulb moment from this training? If so, please let me know in the comments below, or if you have any questions, put those below in the comments as well, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. You can also give the video a thumbs up, or you can share it with someone who you think could benefit from the information. And be sure to subscribe, clicking the red button below. You can also click the bell next to that, which will give you notifications each Tuesday when videos are posted. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.